ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Long and Thick Podcast, where we help you navigate the noise and cut through the bullshit in the health and wellness space. Daniel, how art thee?
Ronald Grantorius III. I am fantastic. How are thee?
Pretty swell on a Wednesday night. Couldn't ask for more.
For sure, except you can ask for more because we have a bit of an offering. Our episode sponsor is PTU, Biomechanics Course 1.0 from Jason Coley at Personal Trainer U, a dear homie of ours and a serious mind in the space. If you have a client whose movement keeps breaking down no matter what you try, this course is going to change how you see that problem. Jason teaches personal trainers a complete system built around the human skeleton and the shape of your client's structure. How this one variable drives our hip mechanics, foot position, compensation patterns, and overhead range is one framework, everything connecting. 9 modules, full assessment and programming system, built for trainers who want to stop guessing and start understanding what is actually happening in their client's body. Incredibly useful tools, awesome course. You can also use Long Thick 15 at checkout for 15% off, and we will have a link in the show notes. Thank you so much, Jason. Ronnie, lead us the way. It's been a long day. Whatever.
Yes, it has. For those who are tuning in, we just want to, showcase our commitment, and we're just going to say this once, but it's late in the hours of the day, and we are just dedicated to making sure that the episode comes out for y'all. So This is our love note to you. Today we are talking about 5 different ways that we can overcome training plateaus, whether that be in physical lifting, more based hypertrophy stuff, or cardiovascular training. Both very applicable, both things that most people who train will have run into at some point in their training journey in some way, shape, or form. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But personally, I need to know how your show went on Monday, in which I was unable to attend because, it felt like the walks I said can be there.
Yeah. Ronnie just refuses to join on any large social event that I'm a part of, but that's fine. The show was sick. It was a huge success for Nashville shows and hardcore, as it were. I unfortunately had some technical gremlins that kind of kept me from truly enjoying it during.
Oh no!
Some tuning, just gremlins, man. I've had a guitar that's been rock solid literally for 15 years, and it was just not the night for it.
It finally had its moment of being a little fussy.
Yeah, so just inopportune. We got through it. All the videos that I watch posts, I'm like, oh, we did fine. But in the moment, it feels like an eternity when those kind of things go wrong.
Yeah.
And it just kind of zaps you out of it. It's kind of hard to shake off. But yeah, again, most people were none the wiser. Minus like a couple extra moments had to take, like just fixing stuff. But no, it was immense. I mean, we opening bands played to over 600 people.
Shoo, I saw like one video, and it looked fucking nuts.
Yeah, and it's all Nashville bands, all local bands. Granted, Orthodox is a large meteoric force in the music industry right now. But still, all Nashville bands. This was now commemorating what they're going to call 615 Day, June 15th every year. And just going to use Nashville bands to do it, springboard it. There's always going to be a free show as long as they can help it. So yeah, it was a free show on a Monday night, and there was over 600 people in the door before the first band played.
Fuck. Do you know what the total numbers were by the time?
I think it was like just north of 7 at the peak.
That's actually pretty sick that it wasn't like, and then there was 1,200. It was still fucking packed out from the get-go.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a 750 cap space, so it's for all intents and purposes sold out.
Yeah,
as far as a free show goes. So yeah, it was very cool. All the bands killed it. Things got really rowdy toward the end, and one of the direct support bands actually instilled or incited a little bit of true chaos and getting people to jump off like the top balconies.
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
Did anybody get fucked up?
Not in that. I mean, some people definitely got like walloped in the pit or just like stage dove upon. I mean, they basically set it up so it had no barricade, and they also put risers up to the stage so you can get up and then jump off. So it
Oh
was
my God.
engineered to be highly crowd accessible and interactive. So it was nuts, man. It was very, very cool to see. It was super cool to be a
Damn.
part of.
Wow.
What about you? How's your week been?
Pretty good, I suppose. Yesterday I woke up with a shocking amount of upper back pain in a way
Whoa.
that I've never felt in my life. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then it got really bad as the day went on. And I was like working and working on people. Like it was taking my breath away all day. It hurt so bad that I was nauseous for like 90% of the day.
Can you pinpoint an origin?
No, it was like I hadn't lifted Monday night. The reason that I didn't come is because I was actually at a impromptu birthday party celebration that got canceled from a sickness. And then it was like, hey, you want to come to this thing? And I was like, yes. And it was very accessible. So, but it didn't do anything. Like I woke up and I was like, it felt like someone was taking my lung, and like for anybody watching, it felt like this was happening like in the middle of me. And then
it's better-ish now?
Now it's like 98% better. I did shit all day trying to like alleviate it. It was insane.
Contextually, I realize now that you did shit as in like you were in motion doing things.
Yes.
But
yeah.
coming from a place of sickness, when you're like, I did shit all day, I was like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
It really worked its way out, you know?
Yeah, no, I was very violently, actively like working on healing. I even played pickleball, like half-assed, and I was like, I'm just gonna sort of ignore this and just keep moving, and that helped get the pain down, like, I don't know, 15-20%, but it was still like choking me. And then probably by like 9 p.m. it started to subside like a good bit. And then I was like, I hope I wake up and it's just gone. And I feel like a little sore in that space. It was so fucking weird. It seems like some kind of like costal chondritis flare up, like in between the rib thing that I have no idea.
Did you have like a rib separate or something?
I don't know. It felt like something like that. Like there was just this web of shit in between my upper middle back and this like little nook. My whole body was like twisting down to the right. Like it was fucked up. I don't know that I've ever felt anything like that.
Is there a little Ronnie voodoo doll that someone's got? Just been like,
maybe, right?
Someone put a hex on you or something?
I guess they got it, but I fucking canceled that bitch out in 24 hours.
Yes. Try harder next time. Get bigger needles, ho.
My magic is more powerful.
My swords is bigger than your swords.
Yep. So that was crazy.
Yeah.
In a fucked up sort of how do I learn from this thing, I guess. Maybe not fucked up. I just like it just made me appreciate that when you feel good, like enjoy it. Like
sure.
As dumb as it is, like it's really simple to just
you know how it can come and it can be plucked away from you in an instant. You can't see that stuff coming sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm arguably doing all the things to like not have that kind of shit happen, but here I am. I guess I'm a phony.
Doing so, you beat a plateau. So
that's true.
Let's segue into that. Talk to us about plateaus. And how
so we're gonna go through 5 different key points. So, kicking off the first. These are not necessarily like a particular order of hierarchy of importance. So we'll just sort of dive through different points that Daniel and I discussed. The first being ensuring that you have the proper intensity relative to what your goal is. So if you shed some light on what that means for the lifting side, how would you describe what you see as the most common plateau in that regard of intensity?
So intensity is dealing with, if we're talking about just getting yourself stronger or putting on more muscle, the largest thing getting in your way is, I would say, just lack of detail in terms of so if you're not tracking anything and you're just in there doing stuff and I don't think anything's working. Well, if you don't have numbers to back it up and you're just utilizing whatever sensations or feelings that you have along the way, your mind and your body will always lie to you. And without getting too much into biomechanical quicksand, there's so many ways of even changing how I could show you how to do a bicep curl and make it the same weight feel 5 different ways over 1 rep. And if you don't know how to modulate that and you don't know how your numbers are adjusting along the way or progressing, you're going to be chasing your tail forever. And it's just going to be this big blind spot. And you're like, oh, I think I must be getting, I feel, I'm burnt out and I'm, thrashed and I'm tired. So biggest thing for a plateau is like, one, you don't even know what the curve looks like. You don't know what a plateau is because you haven't even gotten to a point where you see what's progressing, what isn't, that starts to level off, So I think, you're not even in the baseball game yet. You're still in the minivan before you get out of the car seat kind of thing. It's like, if you don't know what game you're even playing, like you can't even get to where a plateau is yet. But generally speaking, I think intensity can work against you in one of 2 ways: too little intensity or too much intensity. Because if you take certain intensity when it comes to, say, rep ranges or lack of rest periods, it will feel like you're doing a ton, and your body will have different cardio and glycolytic responses that will say, you are doing the most. You are fucking killing it, my guy. But you're actually not. These are like chemical disadvantages that you're working into your lifting that are giving you a false pretense that you're growing a ton of muscle because you're exhausted. And I was in that space for years. So someone told me that there's no such thing as overtraining. There's no such thing as long rest periods. You just turn yourself into a meat grinder and you'll be a superhero. It doesn't work that way. So that's the over intensity way, thinking that you're getting more for your purchase than you actually are. Then there's other people that are under intensified in their training and they're just like, well, here's this thing and we're just going to do that. And that's fine. But without, again, making this a biomechanics course, you can also make a weight that's too light still feel too heavy for you, depending on how you approach it. So intensity can be a roadblock in a bunch of different ways. And this is what it's really simple. All you got to do is find a weight that you can do with a good amount of intensity, like a good amount of push and, ballistic energy behind it for 8 reps. Like if you put your all into it, like 8 reps, we just barely got there. Rest for 2 minutes. And then make sure the weight goes up and the reps go up each week. That's it. I mean, that's not the end of the episode. That's basically how you make yourself stronger pretty consistently. But if you don't know how to measure that in the beginning and you don't know how to program that in the beginning, then you don't even know what a plateau is yet. So you're basically shooting yourself in the foot before you even start.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. So some of the biggest takeaways from that are not mistaking fatigue and muscle burning for intensity. That is intense in terms of the intensity of the sensation, but intensity meaning how hard are you physically pushing against a weight? How much effort are you using, right? And making sure that number is high.
Sure.
In terms
and
of
then
if you're
how comfortable are you getting that intensity close to the actual top end abilities of your particular body? Because that's what moves the needle forward, is you need to push your body to a place that it is not yet adapted to. And that takes like near maximal effort, not maximal effort, but near maximal effort to be like, hey, I am just barely getting this. It's forced evolution in a way. So you're basically being like, hey, I got really close to dying in a way, air quotes. And your body's like, oh man, like we gotta do something about that. So I'm gonna give you a little bit more. Your body's just not gonna give away a bunch of abilities because it has to protect you in terms of self-preservation and not giving too much of your calories and resources away. So there's these thresholds. Again, not trying to make this a biomechanics course, but you just need to be pushing hard and like, I work with people in weight training all the time and you can see it once you know what to look for, clear as day. It's like, that was not nearly intense enough. Like, well, I think that was hard. And I was like, if I put a gun to your head, like how much more weight could you think you could do? And they're like, much more, like 40, 50 more pounds. And I'm like, let's start at 30 then. And we're gonna get closer to that.
Right.
So actually getting, intensity behind what you can actually do. And again, that can be scary. You need confidence. You need someone to kind of Sherpa you up the mountain of gains, if you will, if you don't know how to find that yourself. But finding true intensity and knowing how to measure that and then scale that is your first, level of advancement in this game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's all solid. And similarly, there are applications to when we're thinking about cardio, like when we're training for heart gains, you really don't want to be going to that super fatigue point. So the main point that I'm trying to make with how you're going to overcome a cardiovascular plateau is learning how to stack more volume. So you actually need to learn how to dial things back. But again, it comes back down to understanding your zones relative to the thing that you're trying to train at. So if you're having a plateau biking, you need to know your lactate threshold zones within what your heart and body do while you're doing a biking exercise. Map that all out, understand where those thresholds are, and then spend time, dependent on those places. So one of the biggest things, again, to take away, what is the answer to how do I make sure I am using the proper intensity, is measure your intensity via checking against, how much effort you're using every time that you train. Mark it, scale it. You're not going to get it perfect in the beginning, but at least you're starting to accumulate data. And from there, you can start to make adjustments that will get you past and into the proper arc of adequate intensity without destroying yourself and not without doing too little to not force an adaptation.
Yeah. And so the bottom line here, folks, anyone listening and or watching, is you don't know what a plateau looks like yet because you haven't measured what is or isn't a plateau. And all of this, if you want the most out of your body, that's not to say that you can't get positive outcomes with effort in either the cardio or the weightlifting space. Any movement or any weight training on your body is better than nothing. And taking it on a long enough timeline, you're bound to get good, positive physical results, small or large. But to get the most out of it, and also to be able to confidently and consistently predict where you're going or where you can end up, is by tracking everything. And also knowing what should be tracked, and then also what metrically might be irrelevant at this point. So you don't get lost trying to analyze too many things, which will stop you from progressing forward as well.
Yeah. Moving into the next is ensuring that proper recovery is happening based on your intensities.
Love this one. So you want to go first for cardio?
Sure. Yeah. So
I think also wait. I don't want to just sequester you to cardio because you do a lot of cardio more than I. But hit me with it. What do you think about recovery?
Yeah, I mean, you can argue that the only time the adaptation actually takes is during the recovery. So if you're completely running yourself ragged in both cases, you will never progress. So what Daniel had said earlier about, running himself ragged because you can't overtrain, in quotes, obviously you can, and hopefully enough people who have listened this long understand that overtraining is just the biggest way to shoot yourself in the foot in terms of making any type of progress that you want across the board. This is sort of true for anything, even outside of fitness. You can overdo your learning obsession with a language and you're going to be too fried. You're not going to retain anything right. And so you have to take these things in stages and phases. And one of the most important and neglected phases of thinking about your training as a whole robust system is your recovery, which would, include food, which will make a separate thing. So we'll say more that this lies within the place of sleep and knowing when to not train. I will call that recovering, is when you are not adding stimulus to the system. And so if you're pushing shit 7 days a week across the board, you're probably not recovering like you think you are. And you're just never going to actually facilitate any of the adaptations physiologically that you're actually working towards. Thoughts?
No, I agree. It took me a long time, and I've told this anecdote multiple times on this podcast, but it was one of those things where I was training with a buddy of mine, Terrell, trying to be strong as possible. We were kind of bouncing back and forth on a collaborative power building program pillared around the big 3 lifts. And we would start with our power lifts, and then we would do our hypertrophic things after it. And we would just always get so carried away and bro down and, try to kill each other. And we were tracking it, and every time we'd be warming up to like our big pillared lift, it would be consistently going down. And I'd be like really frightened. And we both would be. It would track like clockwork. We're both like, how the fuck did we just squat 405 last week and now we're like crippled at 365? And like, all right, we'll just train harder. And then the next week's like 340. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And it's just, I was like, that's what really clicked. I'm like, I need to look into why this is, look more into recovery modalities. And it's just, there is science behind it if you look for it, of what the body can actually recover from and how it adapts. And the internet is a really murky place because, again, it's really easy for the Goggins of the world and all these people that are paid to be fitness influencers and to be, say that, oh, just train all the time. Like there's more meat on the bone and you're just leaving something on the table, which is something someone I entrusted for a long time put that in my head. And then the minute I started looking at like the data, then you're like, oh, well, if you train hard for half the time and the other half the time you're doing nothing, then your body's just like, oh yeah, dude, like you want a little more muscle here, a little more strength here. Yep. And it's crazy. And it's a disproportionate belief I have to work with my clients as well, because a lot of them are like, oh, well, like, why only have me train 3 days a week? I was like, are you getting stronger? They're like, well, yeah. I'm like, then shut up.
Right.
That's it. I was like, were you getting stronger when you're training 6 days a week? They're like, well, I don't know. I was just like kind of always inflamed. And I'm like, yeah. And now you're not. You look better, you feel better, you move better, and you're getting stronger. So for me, myself and my clients, I will not program more than 4 days a week, period.
Yeah.
So the recovery matters. The sleep does matter, but I think the quality of, if you go back to intensity of the training, scale it properly, and then if you actually have proper recovery off times, the sleep is not irrelevant, but it is not as relevant as people might believe, and that shoots a lot of what people are preaching in the foot, and we've talked about on the podcast, is like, yes, for maximal optimal stuff, yes, sleep is paramount. Get 8 hours, get 8+ hours of sleep if you can.
Right.
I'm just saying, once you align the quality of the recovery with the quality of the intensity, someone like me who has always struggled with sleep that gets like 4 to 5 hours a night, I've still been able to adapt pretty heavily for a decade.
Yeah.
So
no, totally.
Sleep is not the silver bullet, and it can hold you back, but it will not stop you dead in your tracks.
Yeah, I think that's a important distinction. And again, we're not like suggesting actively don't care about it, but it's if you're picking where to invest your efforts the highest, it should be in balancing your intensities versus your time off, and appreciating the neurological demands that come with it is pretty much the thing that will be your limiting factor in that space, which is what you have to respect. So, and then anything else?
No, just again, this all goes back to, you don't know what you don't know, and you can manage what you don't measure. So if you are not tracking your lifts, and you're like, I think I'm getting stronger, you're probably not. So this is a data-driven thing, and how this style of training will work, or any progressive overload scheme, whether that is on cardio or on weightlifting, is you're looking for granular wins every single time. Like less than a single digit %. But as long as you're moving that way, you're going to outpace everyone that does the oscillation of biting off more than they can chew, failing that, having to regress below where their current maintenance point is, work back up to their maintenance, and then refail again. And it's just this crazy ellipses that people just live in, thinking they're killing it, where if they just measured their lifts, and then if something's not moving properly, just be critical about all the details. Like, how many sets, how many times a day, or how many times a week am I training? How many days am I not training? What are the other factors that could be taking away? Am I a hybrid athlete? Am I having to balance cardio stuff, demands, and weightlifting? Because that is a different cactus skin, because then you are working on pure strengths and then also metabolic conditioning via endurance. And those are two different training styles. And if you don't know how to balance those things, then you also could just be stuck in quicksand just the same.
Yeah, totally. Good points. So you had just alluded to all of this, this is the third point that we discussed, which is just measuring everything. Again, like I would argue most people will not necessarily fall into plateaus unless they're getting lazy and like just oscillating through that sort of loop that you just mentioned. But if you're tracking stuff, you're going to see the pitfall coming while it is happening and hopefully proactively address what is going on. So just further evidence, if you're not measuring, you should. Do you have a favorite way to keep track of your lifts that you feel like helps people be set up for success?
So, I mean, I use a platform called Trainerize with my clients, which gamifies it a little bit because it'll show you all of your small or big wins, but it'll show you kind of where volumetrically you've gone up, where in pure weight you've gone up, that kind of thing. I also myself, I mean, I have that ability for that. Sometimes I'm just in a notes app and as long as you can just do it with a pen and paper. I see plenty of people still old school it with a journal and do it that way. And it just comes down to just being honest. It's just numbers, and fudging the numbers is silly. It is raw. It doesn't lie as long as you don't. It's like, okay, this is what I was able to do. And it's just straightforward. And how we've talked about scaling a progressive overload program in the past is you set a rep baseline and then you maybe add a rep or two to that the following visit or two. And then you add somewhere between 2.5 and 10 pounds on that lift. And I say 10 pounds on something bipedal, like a leg press or something, or a squat. Even that's big. I would say 2.5 to 5 pounds on any lift.
Yeah.
Just do that. And it's the hare versus the tortoise. It's people trying to make these big jumps. They're going to crash and burn. And someone who can add 2.5 pounds every 2 weeks. I mean,
yep. Can't be beat.
Yeah. So
until they tap out. So yeah, if you're not measuring, find some ways. There's an app called Heavy or Heavy, Hevy, that I think is maybe like $10 on the App Store that I like a lot.
So sorry to cut you off. That is a distinction to make, is that for people that are just general population, Trainerize is usually accessed to you by someone who is a trainer or coach in the space that allows you onto the platform because they pay for it. Whereas something like Heavy or Carbon or anything like that, if you have access to it as general population, anyone can just like download it, subscribe to it, and have access. So that is a good point, because I and my clients all have access to it because I have access to it and it's not open platform.
Right. Yeah. So again, pen and paper is totally great. If you want to use an app and keep it there, sometimes it just makes the tracking a little simpler. And I like that app personally because I do weirder things. And so most of the like lift structures that I'm implementing are not going to be like what I search for. And so there's a create function that just is like very quick. I can write down split, blah, 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 and then add it in, and it's going to pull that up every time I add it to my program, whatever. And then for the cardio side, probably the best thing in the game for the free, if they ask you to maybe donate if you'd like to, as far as I'm aware, and I've been doing that for some time, it's called intervals.icu.
Okay.
The analytics on that are outrageous. So if you're like a cardio person, or a fitness person, there should be some component of like measuring your heart at some point. And so whether that be through a watch or whatever, like, you want to have an idea of if resting heart rate's changing, if your HRV is changing, all that stuff you can integrate to easily sync up so that every day you can see, what are my trends? And you can also make your workouts appear within that, which is what I have it like synced to do. But great ways to set yourself up for clarity of trend watching and,
Mhm.
staying ahead of plateaus before they would inevitably otherwise happen. Um, Next up on the list, we have measuring food intake and making sure that that is adequate on um, both sides of, whether it be cardiovascular demands or just from the caloric necessity for either gaining weight, losing weight, whatever your goal is. Um, Same idea, right? Like
Mhm.
we have to measure at some point. Do you think people can get away with a week of food scale, looking at what's going in if they document every single thing to get a baseline and then making tweaks from there? How would you recommend somebody goes about like starting that process if they feel like they're stuck?
So I would look at something. So you're going to want to know as close as accurately as you can, which is never going to be perfectly accurate. What's called your TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure. And that is an aggregate of your basal metabolic rate. That is a solvent necessity to keep all of your lights on, pretty much. Like, so your age, your height, and your weight, just as a non-moving human, just to keep you dead, alive with
In
all of your
space,
organ.
yeah.
Yeah, you have a baseline caloric need, and that's going to be differing for everybody. But that is your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. That is just to keep all of your functions working as they should, properly fed by sheer calories alone. And then when you start adding in movement and then exercise, that will then start attributing to what's called your TDEE, which is your basal metabolic rate combined with your energy expenditure that you have throughout the day with fidgeting, walking, exercise, what have you. So most people will, even when they look at their BMR, they'll still be like, it's not actually what that is. Or when it comes down to their activity, they're generally overestimating their activity.
Mm,
So if someone goes to the gym 4 times a week, they're going to put highly active, but they're not, because you're only working out for probably half of the hour and a half that you're there, and most
mm,
of it's sitting down. It's different than someone who is a foreman or someone who works in a warehouse when they're on their feet and they're getting 15 plus thousand steps a day. That
mm,
is very different than someone who works in office, that while they have intense exercise 4 days a week for a combined total of 6 hours, a highly active person is highly active for 40 hours a week.
right.
So that's where things get complicated too. But you basically just need to know what your BMR is or your TDE is, and it's going to be a ballpark. And then that's also why you measure things. So some of it's going to be empirical. Some of it's going to be like how your weight shifts as you say you find a number that you think is sort of accurate and you start committing to that. It is trying to track it as accurately as possible, which that is its own can of worms, because how you track accurately is it's a spectrum for most people, even though it shouldn't
Mm,
be. It can be empirical. But then to just kind of the other half of the non-empirical side is how do you feel with that energy allocation, energy being
mm,
food and calories. So you have to see, one is the scale trending in a way that is aligned with what you're hoping you're moving towards your goals would be. And
mm,
then how do you physically feel? And that's where some of the feeling actually matters. A lot of the time the feelings don't matter. Like, oh, you can feel like anything. But if you think you have your numbers dialed, but you feel like shit, then it's not dialed. And then that's
right,
why
right.
you have to play a little bit. And it's very much a moving target. And your scale weight's not going to change drastically. If you might lose some water weight or lose some inflammation, but realistically, if you're building muscle, you can hope for maybe a half pound a week, if you're lucky, of what is true muscle and not just
Of
like
gaining, yeah.
glycogen loading and water and sugar and all that. And if you're losing weight, that also depends on if you're just trying to lose weight in a free fall or
Mm,
lose weight and not catabolize your muscle. And
mm,
if it's not catabolizing your muscle on top of it, I mean, you're going to lose, if you're lucky, a pound and a half a week, if not a
yeah,
half pound a week.
yeah,
So it's just, yeah,
yeah.
that's what it comes. It's kind of a word salad there, but
I mean,
that is.
it's very involved. It's a very involved piece of the puzzle. Again, all these things point back to measuring things so that they're managed. And you said the earlier, like writing down in the paper, like don't fucking lie. Like you're just doing a disservice just to you. No one's gonna check it, and if they do, you're gonna feel like a fucking idiot for being like,
right. Yeah, but
I only had 1,200 calories all week. You're like, no, you did not. Like,
right.
You didn't.
And it's honestly more pervasive than most people. Actually, it's just a funny human quirk that we're just gonna push pixels around to make us feel better, even though
it's worse.
If we have a direction that we're going, just fix the thing fix the numbers now. Like, okay, you're not perfect. No one is.
Right. It's not
like,
the point.
Don't like shift some stuff like, oh, it's not that far off. Well, no, it fucking is, but that's okay. Just make it not that far off tomorrow.
Right.
It really is that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've encouraged people to take a week to establish like within their most normal routine week. So not while they're traveling, not while they're fucking in midterms, not while they're doing something that's crazy circumstantially within their life. Unless it's like, my life's always crazy. Fine. Pick a crazy week if that's your norm. And then just document everything. Weigh as much as you can that's weighed. Take a fucking snapshot of things that have labels and MyFitnessPal, and you'll see within a week what you're actually having versus what you're not. And then you'll have at least a starting point again to progressively overload via if you're trying to gain, or deload if you're trying to lose appropriately. And it's I think calling it a moving target is this is probably the trickiest piece of the puzzle in a lot of ways. And the most emotionally involved, because how much more there is around food and food culture. Like, food isn't just fuel. To many people, they can say it is just that, but there's memories, there's nostalgia, there's cultural significance. There's so many things that tie into.
There's even camaraderie around it. So
yeah, it is part of being human, is eating, and so like to consume is you can't take that like a light thing, and don't try to overhaul everything all at once. That is definitely how you will plateau in the wrong direction and just stay where you are. Anything to add in terms of food stuff?
Food? I mean, this isn't necessarily about plateau breaking, but as an experiment, back to your suggestion of doing like one solid dialed in week. I mean, if anyone out there hasn't done it yet, yes, measure everything. The one thing that people don't really try to do is we have roadblocks mentally of simplicity. Of like, well, we want to enjoy our food. We want it to like feel fully featured and still have it be experiential, to your point. However, if you did even 1 week, maybe 2, of just every single meal can only be 3 ingredients, and you track it and you measure every condiment, and you'll be surprised how different you feel in 1 week's time. Because people just try to, I mean, eating out and doing fast food, I realize there's extenuating circumstances, but if you just take a Sunday and you plan out, 7 chicken breasts and you know,
bunch of sweet
7
potatoes,
turkey sandwiches and 3 egg meals, that's like eggs, toast, and potatoes. 3 ingredients per meal, and you stick to that and you don't deviate, you don't snack, you would be appalled with how better you feel at the even end of 1 week. Like, just because you're not chock full of preservatives and fried foods and all this kind of stuff, and not thinking you're dialed in, but if you start, I'm basically spiraling here, but it's really easy to snack at night. If you just give yourself a hard out, like your last dinner is it, and you just commit to it 1 week, it's going to feel like a stay of execution. It's going to feel like prison. But if you check in with yourself at the end of that Sunday, of that 1 week, and how you're feeling, and not like, oh my God, I did this hard stuff, or like, I wish I had my favorite food. But if you were really honest with yourself about how you feel internally, I guarantee you it would be 100% better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth going down the wormhole, so to speak.
Not plateau oriented, but just a tirade. Forgive me.
No, I mean, I think it's all relevant now. I think it's applicable and helpful information. So, um, last on the list, we are talking about assessing the outside factors that could
Mm,
be limiting all of the things we just discussed, whether it be intensity, navigating the food side of things, um, and your recovery time. So, in terms of intensity, let's think about the things. We'll say intensity and recovery are within the same two side, or each side of the coin of two separate things. Um, Outside factors that are going to influence that the most, I would argue, are external stressors
hmm
that are within your control to change. So we're
Sure.
talking about um, toxic environments that are mentally, emotionally draining. The same with relationships, friendships, work scenarios, those types of things that are draining you in a way that is motivating you to do less, uh, and draining you so that when you do show up, you have less to push with.
hmm Yeah, I mean, I put that down as just like bandwidth and what you can really physically and mentally and emotionally put into it. Like if you're in a toxic relationship or you're in a schedule where you just feel like you have no time to yourself, no freedom of thought. While some people may thrive in that, they're like, oh, like the gym is the one place I can kind of realign the chaos. Some people do thrive like that. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
don't, however.
Right.
I myself, I am maybe at one point in my life was like, oh, I can just restack the deck with a workout. Nowadays, not so much. If, life is kicking me in the dick, I'm just like, I don't really want it right now. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, the bandwidth issue is a big one, and that's something that it's taken me a bit to even acknowledge in my own self. But again, when I
Sure.
track things and then it's downtrending, and one, if I miss workouts because I don't have the bandwidth, I know I'm going to start trending down regardless. But then when I actually look at it in hard numbers, I'm like, God, like have to start restructuring my life.
Mm.
Today, for instance, if you want to put so fine of a point on it, but like today was like kind of like my line in the sand. The last 3 months, probably. I mean, I've been in and out of town, in and out of the country, doing a bunch of side quests. The last 3 months, I probably have not worked out more than twice in 1 week at all.
Yeah.
If I'm lucky, it's like one, if not zero. So today
Sure.
was like the line in the sand because, again, I know I am 20% off my pace, what I should be realistically, which sucks.
Sure.
And I hate that. So checking in with myself and realizing that, hey, I don't have the same bandwidth that I did. And because of that, I cannot even approach the thing that like gives me the most life, which is fitness. So that just calls for a restructure. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I think that's too why we started this off with the proper intensity for your goals.
mhm,
Like understanding, is your goal to be as physically strong as you could possibly be? Okay, then that means certain sacrifices in certain places. Do you want to have the best gas tank you could possibly have? Well, then guess what? I would argue it's even worse because the time demand is
you're
exponentially
three
higher.
times as much investment behind that.
Right. And the ticker goes down pretty fast in terms of your cardio gains. And so
Mm,
all that being said, like it's just a reminder to ourselves and anybody listening that like much like the moving target of navigating your food balancing, your life is going to change. Like your demands are going to change, your circumstances are going to change, your desires are going to change. Like
mhm.
you might not want to keep pushing at this like super level at some point. Who knows? And the point is, it's fine as long as you are still just exercising and trying to capitalize on your health in a way that makes you the best version of you that you can be.
For sure.
I think the pendulum swing of over optimization is finally like really rearing and its head in terms of like everyone being like, I actually want to die all the time because I've tried to optimize everything and it's making me insane. And so if you boil down the things we're talking about here, they're all actually very simple. And again,
Sure.
can be like adjusted like 5 pegs on a soundboard. Like, oh, my bandwidth here is really fucked because all I think about is work and studying and blah, blah, blah. And it's taking so much of the, equalizer.
Mhm.
Do I want to turn it down or am I fine with this? Is this okay for right now? And so,
Sure.
it's just like coming to terms with some of those things. And the plateau is a plateau if it's a plateau. Like, it's a dumb thing, but if you hear me say that again, like, you'll understand what I mean is it's relative to what you want and where you are and what you're doing about it. If you're down with your career being your thing that you're fucking going after, okay, that means your fitness is probably going to take a little bit of a shitter. And that's a trade for a time. Like, there's seasons to these things. So,
For sure.
Other big drains, I think, are, trying to be hyperfixated on feeling motivated instead of like having these things be part of your routine, being around people that operate the same way, people that push you towards wanting to be healthier. That's like pulling you in the opposite direction. What else do you think is the most draining in terms of like bandwidth? I guess it sort of changes from person to person, right? Because like
True.
you might thrive in a super social environment and I want to die. And like are those drains different from person to person? For sure. Like, again, it sort of comes back to measuring them and understanding where your leaks are.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people are getting harder and harder to really do accurately and honestly, is just like the check-in. I mean, we're so distracted by so many things, and most people, and I've fallen by the same sword and still continue to do so. So this is me, laying on that one, but is you don't really want to admit that you're not okay with stuff. And people, especially men, that we're just sitting here to be Spartan, trudging people and balancing all of this stuff. Not to say that women also can't keep things really close to the chest and just kind of like shrug things off, because there's plenty of badass women out there who are balancing a ton and they're just like, I'm good. But then, probably internally.
It's the social expectation of men, though, to just not give a fuck. Yeah.
So, I think people, and writing was a big one for me. I was, horrible at just like spilling my thoughts on a page for like the longest time. We've talked about that. But it's just being honest. It's like, okay, what does my ideal week and day and that look like? Yeah. And then people are like, well, no, but like, it's not that simple, but it is. Like, this is your life. And like, boundaries need to exist for a reason, or it's going to eat you alive. Or because boundaries don't exist, like, again, case in point, I am very good at saying yes to so many things. If I'm still breathing, I'll be like, yeah, we can do that, So I am actively trying to carve more time just for myself, and I am not good at it because I'm very much like squirrel. When someone's like, hey, what about this? Like, do you think you can pull this off? I'm like,
I know
fuck
I can.
it.
Should I?
So
maybe
let's just see.
But yeah.
So it's just really being honest with yourself and checking in and being like, hey, is the balance of all of these factors really what I want and really is sustainable for what I want? And some people like myself, I wasn't even good at vocalizing what I wanted. I'm like, oh, like, everything's good. Like, I think we're fine. But then I had people push me like, yeah, what do you want? I'm like, it's like Notebook. It's like, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know. I'm the girl crying.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Holy shit. We gotta cut that in
Rachel
here.
McAdams just fucking sobbing in the rain. Like, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
And so you got to be honest with yourself and start looking at how things, again, you measure. Where's your time going? Who's filling the cup? Who's taking it out? And you're not going to win all those battles, but you for sure can shift some stuff around to free up either bandwidth, time, good feels, or all three.
Yeah. Love it.
And then one final thing, I'm going to circle back to the OG intensity that just like kind of popped in my brain while we're going to continue word salad. So Ronnie and listeners, forgive me. Here's something that you need to like for sure just throw the fuck out of your brain. If you ever hear anyone tell you that confusing the muscle is the way, the horrible propagandized opponent to the measuring and managing champion is the fucking idiot little jester that says like, oh, just keep confusing your body and do a new program something like every week or so and like
every
you get the most
day
gains.
Yeah.
No, the reasons plateaus happen is because you can't even get an up and to the right trend to ever even see it leveling off, because you're just sitting on flat line, just doing this, trying a bunch of shit on for size. And that's not to say that you can't be curious about things, but if you actively believe that the more all over the place that you approach fitness and your body to keep it guessing and to shock the muscle, you're in for a really long, disappointing physical career. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's a good call out.
Stick with it. And that's, I guess, kind of like the big thing, kind of goes back to like mentality is now your plateau also might happen just because you're bored, and that's fine. However, most people do not give a program enough time to really exact and extract all of the fruits from that program before they deviate. Now, every program will level off no matter what. You'll hit all of your adaptations for that particular run of things. And that could be 3 months, that could be 12 months if you can really dial in. It will level off, and then you will have to change your approach a little bit. And then you can also revisit the original program once some other things have shifted and you've gotten strength and support in other areas. But 9 people out of 10 are too quick to change what they're doing just because they're bored.
Yeah. If you buy a 4-week program or 12-week or anything that is not, especially if you're new to training, a year, right? Of like, this is it. Keep doing that for the year. Then, you're just, it's going to be a hindrance in some way, shape, or form. So, we do have some other things to share in terms
recent
of
developments. You mean on the production front?
Yeah, we've had quite the I would call it exhaustive time, just really going hard in the paint, which has been incredible. Don't mishear me for complaining. It's not. It's like remarkable, but very different from our normal, even weekly recording structure. Just in a level up by, I don't know, what would you call it, 5x magnitude?
Yeah, I mean, well, if it depends on what you want to spill, man. Just keep us rolling. I've been gabbing my little face off, so please keep us rolling.
Oh, I have too. We have. I almost feel like we can just call Zach a partner at this point. He just feels like fucking integral to everything that we've been able to step up with, and blessed by him in that way. Just had some really cool opportunities with some really fun interviews that have been teased at in posts and things like that, and things that we've shared. So I almost want to just keep a little bit more suspense for those who are not in the up and up or haven't heard from one of us personally, like who we interviewed. But we have some really, really stunning footage and video and setup and location and guests to be enjoyed in the very near future. And so we are trying to actively and continually tack onto that list. And I think it'd be really cool if any listeners have people who they think would be really awesome to interview. Actually, I did get a recommendation for a female cyclist. I forget her name. The spelling is pretty wild of the first name. And I have it in my phone, but there's people that I think we could gain a lot of insight and just have a lot of fun spending some time with and interviewing. So if anybody listening is like, ooh, talk to so-and-so, I would say as well that it doesn't even necessarily need to just purely be health related. I think health as the podcast has grown in its identity looks a little bit more zoomed out. Even as this episode has continued, we've gotten a little bit more bird's eye in talking about plateaus as a philosophy, if you will, across the
Mhm.
board of, right? So, things you want to add to that?
Yeah, so it's a bit ironic that we're doing it this way, but this was like kind of necessary in a way as like kind of a gap filler. So we started into late spring and summer talking about Zach. Zach Terzio is, yeah, I mean, beyond integral to how this is shifted on a production front and really showing us the possibilities that, you know, this is how we can level up the overall aesthetic, the whole thing. It's really been beautiful where our normal in-person stuff has been elevated. And then we have also now been able to tack on coming in soonish. We won't give any dates, but we've been now able to then move to having guests in person with us. So that's in our tease, is that we've been able to bridge that gap and have really good spaces in which to share conversations in person. Not that there's anything wrong with this kind of platform that we've had guests with in the past, but it is an entirely different dynamic when you're in a room with someone. And then you get to look back at the footage as like nerdy aesthetic people like we are, like, oh my God, like we almost don't even deserve this. This is crazy.
Yes.
So this little setup now is to, one, we made a promise that we're always going to put out episodes weekly. So we want to give you solid content and solid conversation and debates over those kinds of subjects that we hold near and dear. But this is so we can, one, ensure that you get to hear our stupid voices every week, but also we are bridging the gap to something so much larger, which does take work and a lot of production stuff in the background, but we think it's absolutely worth it, and we're excited to see where that goes and who we can actually have conversations with. And as Ronnie alluded to, it's not purely just like fitness related, and health and wellness for us does come at both a physical nod, but also a mental, emotional, philosophical one as well. Like wellness and all your health as a whole, as an entire ecosystem, we do want to touch on. And that's, I think, the direction that we're going, which is very exciting.
Yeah, agreed. If anybody, I'm going to put this out here because it just came into my brain and it feels totally out of left field, but
I saw it come like out of that window.
You saw that little fucking meteor hit me? I was
little
like,
sprite.
Fuck, my back again. Fuck, that's what it was. It was a meteor. God damn it. I knew it. If anybody has a recommendation on somebody that they think matches our ethos that could help with some rebranding, give us a shout. Give us a DM, text one of us, whatever line of communication strikes you. If you're listening still, please send it over. We would be eternally grateful. I think something will come from this. Hence the meteor idea.
We'll see.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to add in, touch on before we send our good people to the ether?
No. I mean, just if, not even just to you or I, but if you don't even know what to look for, what to measure, then talk to somebody and don't just go to ChatGPT. Just like find someone that actually lives this life, because the body, the mind, the fueling needs, how things can scale, it's all very nuanced, and large language models haven't really got it there yet. And so it doesn't mean it's not a somewhat close future, but it's still not right yet. So if you don't know what to measure, find someone who can help you with what to even look for and how to set up systems to analyze what is working or not working for you. If you've already found a decent stride, then know that this game is much longer than most people anticipate, and you need to think in blocks of quarters, if not years, to really get the most out of it. But also just be honest with your measurements. We're human. We are going to want to fudge some numbers, but you're only doing yourself a disservice. If you have a goal, you have to move toward it. It will not be linear, but just be honest about it. Everyone has pitfalls. I just said that I have not trained more than twice a week. I've honestly been training for once a week for 3 months. I personally do not like that. Life has been gobbling me whole, and we've been side questing our little faces off. So that is a season of life that I'm trying to correct. And you're always going to have pits and peaks. It's just you got to keep making your average up and to the right. And you don't get to do that without measuring along the way. And even though if the numbers go backwards and it's unfavorable, that's okay. You stomach that shit. You rearrange some stuff. How do I move back in that direction? You start moving that direction. It really is that simple. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be simple. And you just got to keep moving. Sisyphus, moving your fucking ball up that mountain. That's it.
That's right. So, push that rock.
Who's up pushing their boulder?
That's right. What was the thing before? What did we start with before we even started recording? What did you say? Let's smoke this hog. Let's
get this pig.
Let's get this pig.
Shout out to our favorite Circuit City employee, like powerlifting 400 pounds on bench or whatever.
Fucking beast. Hell yeah. Well, until next time, folks, we enjoy you being here. Thanks for coming along for the ride. We love you. Yes. And we'll catch you soon.
On a long and big.
Goodbye.